and we're going to show you their game, and I'm sure we're going to see Evan this afternoon.
We're gonna get some CSW in this afternoon. We apologize about that. We only have one camera set up on one of the boards, and anyhow, listen. Your consolation prize is you get to see Jackson again, who was great in the first game, and you get to see Nigel Richards, who's great in every game. So, win-win.
And we're going to bring Conrad back in because it looks like they're about to get started.
Outstanding.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Strudel, I'm sorry that you have to leave and go to class, but we will have all of these games up on YouTube later, and you'll be able to catch up with all the action. And then there's always watching the game during class, but I didn't say that. Alrighty.
Yeah, I definitely played a lot of Scrabble when I was in university. It's kind of how I got through it at times. I used to have like 20 or 30 games going on Facebook Scrabble with one of my friends. And I'd be like, oh, sweet, class is over. Fortunately, I graduated.
Got in the way, right?
We got there eventually.
Now, I think it looks like Nigel's looking to play Twirled, but did Twerk make it into the TWERK?
Not how you spell it.
No, with an E, though.
Oh, with an E? It's Collins.
No, not good. Not, yeah.
I think it's Collins.
So remember, Nigel has to, even though he doesn't have the E for twerk, but Nigel has to remember that a lot of words that are available to him using the other dictionary are not available to him in North America. And to make things even more complicated, I don't know if you know this, but Nigel just went to the duplicate Scrabble Championships in Mont-Tremblant, Quebec, where he won, I assume, since he went through 7 games of duplicate Scrabble without making a single error.
Wow, he won Classique also, right?
In French.
Yeah.
Did I mention French?
Oh, yeah. So if you're familiar with the BuzzFeed articles about the New Zealand dude who wins French Scrabble without speaking French, this is him. He's also the best English Scrabble player, and he'd probably be the best any Scrabble player if we found other Scrabbles to Scrabble. Yeah, so...
Do you know what we're going to be doing during the lunch break? Are we going to be putting up some videos?
Yeah, we're going to be, I think, playing a couple of videos from last year. Some of the exciting games from the 2017 Nationals, which you can also find on YouTube.
Right, and we asked to make sure that there was some sort of banner up that would let you know that these are not current games. These are from last year. So if you see any games happening after the next hour, they're going to be from last year, not from this year. To give you an idea of standings, in this division, Nigel lost his last game, as Conrad mentioned before the break, 328 to 515. So he retains first place with 1816 plus a whopping 1,683. The next person behind him is Ori Swift, who we just watched lose, and he's at 16 and a half, 17 and a half, so a full game and a half behind Nigel, and only a cum of 507. But coming up from the ranks, I'm going to go check on Matthew Tanicliff, because when you look at how they're doing in the tournament, they're color coded, and if it's red, you've lost a game, and green, it's you've won. And I suspect Matthew has a crapload of green in the last 10 games, because he's now at 16 and 8.
I would say so, yeah. I think it would be really funny if Jackson played Writhed here also. It's not the best play, but he would certainly win novelty points, creativity points, or lack thereof.
Now, I'm not sure if he's got tired to have a message to us, or he wants to play somewhere, which my hunch is he's going to play next to Writhed.
I might play Hurried.
Oh, that would be the best play.
Yeah,
he should do that.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's playing here. I think the
he's
idea.
Tired?
No, I think he's just trying to do what he thinks is going to keep the board open most long term, because he's already losing to Nigel. But I think against Nigel, really, he's got to keep scoring points. But we'll see. We'll see what happens from here.
Let's see, I'm going to check on Matthew. And in his here's all that green. So since round 20, so 21, 22, 23, 24, he's won 5 in a row. He had lost 2, but then he had won 3 before that. So sometimes that's a strategy in Scrabble, that you just lose a bunch of games early and work your way up at the end.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it happens.
How's Chris doing? Chris is our other co-president, and he was right up there for the longest time. But it looks like he's got,
Ooh.
yeah, he's got lots of red. So he's now slipped to 19th place, and I think he was up to third even at some point. That's got to hurt. It really, really sucks. I've been in that position. I actually was in first place after, I think it was in Phoenix, and I was in first place going into game 3, day 3, and then I just hit a wall of people hitting 500, scoring 500 and more above me.
So definitely an interesting play from Nigel here, playing off 6 tiles, throwing the board wide open.
You're not like it.
Doesn't have too many big plays there. Just Nigel does love this concept we call turnover, which is playing lots of tiles off to try to go for more tiles. I don't necessarily think that his logic is quite that shallow, but he does like to go ahead and turn things over and start with a new rack.
Well, it's also very, very early, and this is the time now. He's already played off one of the blanks, but there's still one unseen, and there's 4 S's. So playing off a lot of tiles early in the game is a strategy, but when you have A and T, E on your rack, with that VU, the tendency is just to play off the VU.
Yeah, and an S isn't very, very useful
It's
here.
not useful on this board other than to start off of HE.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it's entirely possible that Vonter was a good play here. It's just, it's not necessarily something you would expect to see all the time.
And we'll see how Jackson not playing hurried is going to change the game, because not only would he have scored a lot more, he also would not have given Nigel perhaps this opportunity to get rid of that VU combination and to replenish his rack and pick up an S, pick up blank, whatever. So you can see that just like the butterfly that flaps its wings and it affects the climate thousands of kilometers away, same thing here. Missing one word early in the game can change the entire complexion of the game.
So for Jackson here, yeah, it's seeming like Ditz seems like a pretty straightforward play. He could go a little crazy and play Ritz, trying to set up a big F. Again, losing against Nigel, it's pretty normal to want to really increase variance or randomness to try to get back in it. But I think it's early enough where making the standard play makes sense.
Now I haven't said anything, but actually Nigel does have a bingo in his rack, which is not playable. I don't know if people see it.
I think it was mentioned at one.
Was it already? Okay, I'm not following
Yeah.
the... Okay, perfect.
So it looks like Jackson's going to escape there with Ditz. No Etaimons.
Now, most mortals would immediately think to stick that Y on Ditz to make Ditzy. So, but doing so will then expose row 8 for a comeback. So it will be very... Oh, and Jackson can't catch a break. He keeps having these stem bingos, racks. Now he's got satire, but he's got a J. Let's see if there's anything he can do with it. Now, Yom is interesting, too. Now, Jackson will know this, but it's a Hebrew word, and the plural for it is Yomim. It does not take an S. And that's interesting because Nigel has an S, and Hay doesn't take an S. So often he'll do stuff to set himself up for the next turn, and he's not set himself up for an S play, which is interesting.
So, yeah, it's interesting because it's a short term. It's a nice defensive play. Longer term, it's going to be very easy to put a letter on that triple letter score next to DO, which is going to do, as we say, fork the board in 2 different ways for Jackson to hopefully get himself back in the game. This is kind of an unfortunate spot for him, though, not having a bingo here.
And you can understand why he played the M. I mean, he saved a nest, I believe, right? And
Yeah.
Who knows, you're going to pick up 3 vowels. But now, boy, he wish he had that M back.
Yeah.
So not that many letters actually hook onto the YO.
Yeah. Penalty for a word that doesn't exist. If your opponent challenges it, it comes off the board, and you lose your turn. Yeah, I like moneyest. That would be a good word.
Moneyest.
That rack was money.
It was more. Mine was money-er.
Yeah.
But money-er is good, but it takes an S.
Yeah.
Bonier is good. You can spell it B-O-N-E-Y-E-R. It's fun that when some of the new words come out.
Yeah, but they're always based on like old words that haven't been used in like
Yeah, I guess.
500 years. So like, what's the point?
500 years.
never ask Scrabble players to talk about like dictionaries. It's a really unfortunate subject to talk about. In terms of what does Jackson do here? I think he kind of needs to play a bit of variance here. Yes, you can add an S to Vanter. He's really just got to risk like going for a bingo next turn, I think, and try to take points while he can. So I think there's something to be said for playing JEU for 20.
It's so hard to blow up this rack,
But that's what I'm saying is it doesn't fully blow it up. It's kind of just playing on, the odds of drawing a bingo. You could play Ahi for 11.
Too bad he doesn't have an over dojo. Yeah, jest is a good possibility if you wanted to score some points. Playing Nigel is always, it's really a culture unto itself. And it makes you sometimes do things that you wouldn't normally do. It makes you doubt yourself more than you normally would, because his word knowledge is just so legendary.
So Jackson's gonna kind of toe the line between leave and points now, playing Jerd, keeping a good leave for next turn, keeping the T for they, which is kind of the main spot to play a 7 right here.
I always find it annoying when my opponent plays a letter that I need in order to bingo.
You're not in the right spot.
Estrone would have gone down, not in the right spot. The other bingo in Nigel's rack besides Estrone with the OE at the front is ecotones. So, most mortals, I think I'm going to start most of my sentences this game with most mortals would probably think to get rid of that OE double and open the board. But he's up by a bingo, 73 points. He can wait. This is one thing I've noticed about Nigel. He is patient.
He's very, very patient, yeah. He held on to an X for an entire game earlier in this tournament. He didn't actually win the game, but that's kind of terrifying when Nigel plays OE. You're like, oh, crap. Well, this isn't good. He's going to bingo soon.
Well, the thing is this, and then what it forces, and he does, and he even says, he likes watching to some extent people squirm a little bit, like look what I did, but often what happens is they'll try to block him, and by doing so, they'll actually give him a better place to play. I see it over and over again. So we see Jackson picked up a mitt full of E's. He's basically playing off what he picked up after playing Jerd.
Yeah, most mortals, Twitch chat mortals were mortals. Everyone's a mortal compared to Nigel. So Jackson quickly plays FEE. Totally makes sense as a play. And Nigel is going to do what he does best, and that's score a lot of points.
And am I correct that he would not have had the bingo had not Jackson blocked that spot?
I mean, row.
Oh, it would have fit. Okay, I see that. But he would have opened up in retaliation row 1 with the O right underneath the triple letter. Yeah. So, you see, it's just an unbelievable sequence of events that happens over and over and over again when you play Nigel.
And then, as you can see, Jackson's rack now, he's got some bingos and
octaves, avosets.
Yeah. So,
and can he play them?
Where are we gonna play him?
Shockingly, not available. Mind you, they wouldn't have fit off his Wii either. Yeah. And that's what makes it so frustrating sometimes. Like, he's played Yum, he has an S, he hasn't created an S hook, yet he's able to score using his S and you aren't. It really. Did I get a drink? No? Oh. But it's also part of the blessing of playing Nigel, because it really forces you to think outside your box and to really start thinking of different ways to approach this game.
Yeah, this is really just kind of a not great situation for Jackson. Presumably he'll play for a bunch of points, but he's going to have to...
It's completely annoying to have bingo after bingo or almost bingo and then to finally have one and then there's nowhere to put it. So he's going to have to find a way. Can he do... No, he doesn't have an eye for evict, but the best thing for him to do right now is to try to open up the board going across to the triple on row 8. That would be one good, very good thing for him to do. I don't know if it's the best, but it's certainly a good thing, and I don't know that I see anything except to play Eves.
Yeah, so Dope, to answer your question, you can't resign in games, which honestly sucks to me because you have to use up so much brain energy in games that don't necessarily matter because we use point spread as a way of breaking ties. You know, if you ask me or certain other people, I think point spread should be abolished from Scrabble. I think it's stupid, and I think that resigning should be allowed because it's a very tiring game. That said, most of the time, because we use point spread, which is defined as how many more points you've scored than your opponents, you can't resign because we wouldn't be able to keep point spread a thing.
Well, I don't know. Has there ever been a situation where people have tied to win the tournament? There must have been.
Yeah, there was one last year, a couple years ago. It happens every couple years.
It's
Like,
also yeah,
they've tied even on point spread.
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, happened a couple of times.
I love it when you go to a tournament and you literally do not move in spread at all. It's like
Yeah.
you finish 9-9 and your rating stays the same, and you might as well just have stayed at home and saved $500. But
Yeah. Bingos do not. The bonus points do not multiply. It's just the flat plus 50. My guess, yeah, is Ovate and Weist here or something. Score, open another lane. It's kind of
there's an example of one of those unexpected hooks.
yeah.
No, Avocet. There we go.
So as Jackson's gonna play AVOCET here, I definitely understand the logic. He's trying to make the board wide open, keeping an S, making it like certain that if he has a bingo next turn, he'll be able to play it. I think it's a little bit offensive right now. I don't think he needs to quite do that yet, but there's definitely like a pressing sense against Nigel where you want to do that.
We seem to have a difference in score in our Quackle versus our game by 10 points, and I'm wondering if someone can check into that to make sure that our score that we're broadcasting is correct. Someone's wrong, and they both look exactly, the boards look exactly correct. So let's check into that one. We'll let you know if that is the up-to-date score.
Any thoughts on the Collins game that's going on right now that we swear we were actually going to try to broadcast this time, but they just got ahead of us and just went ahead and got started.
I'll give you some scores.
Not our fault. Can't blame the streamers.
Well, I'll just jump right to turn 21, and I see, we actually have a close game. Evan is up 403 to 381. Stefan had played Lucens and Paretic, and Evan came back after Paretic with Colliston. So those are the only 3 bingos, or bonuses, I guess we should say. Just like when you're watching, when you're watching tennis in Britain, you say nil, right?
Yeah.
Oh, here comes Expos down.
So for the moment here, Jackson is starting to mount a comeback. He did have to use up both an X and an S.
Oh, that's okay.
But I think it was well worth it.
I think it's actually perfect because there's nowhere to stick an S on this board. Let it be where he can reach it.
Can definitely be useful. It's also in a hard spot to block for a lot of points. I think we're probably going to see Nigel now use the T hook on Wheeze.
Yeah, where he's going to play acute right now. So I imagine that the score is not up to date. No, it's not. So I think we're just getting that checked out for you. What we have on Quackle is, before this turn for Nigel, 233 to 191. He's about to add 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 63, 34 points. So, okay, he's at 267 to Jackson's 191. So he's catchable. But Jackson had that Q. He did pick up a U. Oh, and he picked a blank.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we've got ourselves a game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think he can bingo with this rack right away, which would be awesome. If he got over 100 points to that S, that would be a huge turnaround in a short time.
Jackson has QULLIK spelled out. That would be an interesting play. but that's not how you spell. You can actually spell, I think it's Quulliq is the word. Yeah, Steve, I thought Tyke was kind of interesting too. He's had a really large lead at that point. It seemed like maybe he could afford to leave the board open for a turn, but I think he's just thinking long term what the board's going to look like, saving the T for Weist himself with only one T remaining already at that point. He's kind of got the hook to himself. So I think the idea was pretty much short term, block the triple, and capitalize on the points next turn, which is exactly what he did.
And he undoubled a lot of letters. I think Quirk might be a possibility.
Yeah, Quirk seems pretty safe. I hope he doesn't try Kulik. Yeah. He had it spelled out. Who knows?
Can't play it to the K.
Oh, you're saying Keats through the E in Avoset. I think the idea was that he was going to get Weist the next turn for a bunch of points, so he could keep it and keep the S. Just longer term was going to work out better. And I think, having the lead, you can afford to sacrifice a few points. Sam, it doesn't look like Stefan has a win. That would be pretty impressive if he did.
Oh, did Evan just pulled ahead, eh? Or was he ahead?
He was ahead with
He
the
was
bingo, yeah.
Okay.
With the Bing.
He's been doing that a lot. He's been picking up blanks late in the game and getting, one of those stabbed in the heart bingos late in the game where it's very hard to come back from.
So it's looking like maybe Nigel will go for Faena in the top right here. Does a nice job of mostly obscuring that S. And kind of what he wants to accomplish right now. It's going to be
pretty quickly, eh? Look, he's got 16.5 minutes. So he's playing really, really quickly. Faena, yeah.
I think that's pretty normal for Nigel. He's usually only still has like 12 minutes on his clock. Usually when he and I play, we've used like 12 minutes each and the game's over.
It's like, okay.
I mean, and that's a lot of it. When you get to the top levels, being able to generate the list of moves you want to play really fast, writing down the tiles they keep, how much you score, any other considerations. That's really what...
And it goes to what I was saying earlier. If you really know the dictionary well, there's
exactly.
There's not much to consider. All right, so hand gliding. That won't fit. I don't know if he had. Did he? Oh, he's ready to go. He's ready not to play a bingo.
He deduced pretty quickly that there was no bingo there, so he went for some points.
Even off the U? No, nothing. Very good. He had nothing to that S either. And nothing to the E in Avoset. So he made a very quick decision, and it was the correct one. And he scored some points. He kept himself within shooting distance. Seizable is about to go.
Victory is quite seizable for Nigel right now.
Abseis is what he has on his rack, but nowhere to put it, so he's going to play seizable very quickly.
And Jackson sitting there with all his G's is just thinking G. It has been anything but a GG. Actually, he's going to get a bingo down.
Goggling? No?
Logging is going to play. So at least he'll still...
oh, it does go down.
Yeah, he'll still be hanging on. The game's not over yet.
Yeah, but he really needed to bingo without Nigel bingo.
Yeah, exactly.
And picking up those S's. Loggings is also good, but he can play logging over seizable. There we go. He's about to do it. And it's the right thing to do to make the board far more volatile. Because he needs to... he's going to go ahead, though, isn't he?
No, he's
they've already added.
Yeah.
Okay, they've already added the score. Okay.
He'll only be down 20 or so after this, but
they haven't put Nigel's score in yet. Nigel has 359.
Yeah, so being down 20, he really needs Nigel to get kind of a terrible draw. And as we'll see, as Nigel turns over his tiles, that not great, but certainly not bad. Could be worse. It was looking bad for a sec, as you'll see him turn over the first 5. Were all vowels, but
Ipamoya.
yeah, but PM.
So we're not up to date on scores yet, right? I guess it's coming. Okay, well, so the score right now is 359 for Nigel to 339 for Jackson. So Jackson's just down 20 points, but it's not his turn. And, oh, my goodness, he picked a good rack, though. And can he fit delete? No, it won't
No,
fit.
I don't know if anything's gonna fit. Just have just the right amount of space in between those words to.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, if you're Nigel here, like really, you just need to make sure you're closing off that O. There's not really anywhere to bingo.
He's playing really, really fast. Now, he's chosen not to play Ami. So he's setting something up. He wants to come down
This
or
is
across.
this is one of those Nigel plays that like we're totally stumped. It doesn't make any sense to me, and yet he's done it. Why he wouldn't do like say polio is the first thing I saw. I don't know. I mean, I know he's setting up Oma, which is what, German for grandma or whatever.
Well,
which
but
is
Jackson can play it too, and there's
yeah. I mean,
as
look,
far as he's concerned, there's 2 A's left in the bag, so I'm not sure what he's thinking. Is there anything that can happen underneath seizable that's worthwhile?
and to also know immediately that there's no bingo that can be played to the L. Like he's leaving a bingo lane open and everything.
So Nigel has 378, not 359, just to let you know.
So if there's a Kenji or someone out there who wants to like elucidate why that play just got made, I'd love to have my brain blown because I am stumped.
Well, he can get payola now at hitting nothing.
Yeah.
He can play. And at this point, I don't think he's worried too much about rack balance. It's just about scoring, and play scores a ton of points. So Jackson definitely has to play there. And everyone knows Nigel at this point and his setups, and this is definitely a setup.
It's just weird to me that he'd leave the L open unless he immediately knew that there was no bingo to the L. Which, look, I've been near the top of this game, and I wouldn't have been that sure, certainly.
With 42 tiles in the bag, I ascertained that there wasn't a single bingo that was playable.
Yeah. I don't know.
The question is, does Jackson play on row 15?
I mean, I think in a lot of ways
like land or something, you know?
he's kind of forced to do it, or he just goes all in on a bingo and just opens the board up elsewhere and goes for. I mean, like you can play for like a couple points at the top and just go for one bingo and go for the win. That could be.
Well, it's not like he can play like Lee there and set up a hook for the triple row. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, one thing, Nigel's setups are usually very obvious. You know, if he has if he makes a play that looks like a setup, it usually is a setup. He doesn't really try to hide it, and it's kind of nice, honestly, because he's an enigma otherwise. So Jackson can feel pretty confident in playing down below here. He has land spelled out, which is, I think, the most points he can score here. Kind of risky with, some vowels left. I don't, who knows. I'm still totally befuddled by Nigel's play.
He can also go underneath seizable and without even trying hard play something like Dita. But I think that would be crazy. I think this is clearly a setup. Remember, in a game like this, he's going to score 30 points, let's say. He's going to be within less than 10 points of Nigel. You want to also bear in mind what you're keeping on your rack to play. Playing land saves IT for QI, and even though it's not a lot of points, when you're in a really tight end game like this, 14, 18 points can make the difference between a win and a loss. So he's taking his time. This is, remember, we talked about that exquisite turn that could decide the game, and I think this is it for Jackson.
Ryan, you could be right. That could be what he was going for, and just
What's that?
blocking right early and setting something up. He immediately knew the only bingo remaining was right early. I don't know. Or something ending in ly.
All right. Well, we'd love to interview him afterwards and ask him, but I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. He's notoriously tight-lipped.
Yeah. Yeah, we always think like Nigel's just up to something and he knows what the best thing was, but like, what if he's wrong?
And you know his answer, anyhow, if we interview him. Why did you do this? You know what the answer is? I was just having fun.
Yeah.
He really loves to have fun playing the game. He finds it interesting, all these setups.
If we could interview Nigel, we would. Nigel will not let us interview him.
Yeah, and if you did, it's honestly, it's really, you'd rather have your nails pulled out. I mean, he doesn't answer the questions. He just wants to play with you like a cat with a rat, you know, or a mouse. Like, no, it's painful.
But he is really fun to talk to.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God!
I've
Without interviewing, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
played against him all over the world. We've had all sorts of funny discussions.
He's a really nice guy, and
Yeah.
he's got a wicked sense of humor. So he's just delightful. But he really hates it being interviewed, and so he just makes it miserable for you.
So if you want to talk to Nigel, you're just going to have to show up. If you're in Singapore or Malaysia or Thailand, that'll make it easier for you. He lives in Kuala Lumpur, but tends to come stateside once a year usually.
I wouldn't say he's never wrong. Somebody wrote he's never wrong. We've seen a few games where he's he
Denialize.
oh
Denialist.
Oh,
That's
I thought he got over doing stuff like that. I guess.
well, it's a 9 which he hasn't studied, so
Yeah.
that's fair. Like
there's
he
a
thought,
reason why he hasn't studied it.
and you see the look from Nigel, who is
Well, he knows the bingo that's in there. It's disentailed.
Nigel is currently just bringing everything up in his head,
Well, the
just
thing is
making sure
this.
it's not a word.
He knows that there's a bingo in there, probably, right? It's a 9 that has it's a 9-letter word that there are 9 tiles that have a bingo in it. The question is, does he know it as the word, or does he know it just as the list of letters?
I'm gonna interrupt you. It's Collins.
Ooh, interrupt me all the way. Ooh.
I knew there was one in TWL, but I did not know. This is like the ultimate challenge. Can Nigel challenge off the Collins only 9? This is for us in Scrabble Land. This is like this is like what we live for. This moment of, can Nigel keep the 9s apart?
He's turning to page 994 in his mental
Yeah.
dictionary. Give him a minute. That's so funny.
And the thing to keep in mind here is probably if Nigel just lets it go,
Hi, Brian.
he's still
Look
going
who's
to win. So it makes it even harder, knowing that if he challenges it, he's giving up. Oh my goodness, he did it!
Screw up once.
He did it. This is for those of you who are not familiar with Scrabble. This would be like I can't even quantify. It would be like throwing back-to-back perfect games in baseball.
All I know is when Jackson comes out from this game, we all high-five him because he earned it.
Yeah. I don't know if Jackson knew that was even a word, but
Who cares?
Holy-
We'll pretend he did.
holy cow. I mean, we'll probably chat with Jackson after this game because Nigel sure as heck isn't going to talk. But so I guess to try to elucidate why this is so important, there's 2 Scrabble dictionaries, one that has more words than the other. Yeah, and most people only play one dictionary. In Nigel's case, he manages to play both dictionaries and be the best at both. He also plays in French as well, so he really keeps 3 dictionaries together.
And he's turning out to be the best in French, too. So.
Yeah, and he's the best in everything. So in this case, he managed to know that in this dictionary, the word that was played was not a word, whereas in the other dictionary, it is a word, also being a 9-letter word. You don't play 9-letter words that often, so not that many people really learn them. So the fact that he's able to keep both dictionaries apart, and even at the 9-letter level, is truly, truly amazing. And I guess that's the significance. It may not seem that significant, but
my son who's
Trust me when I say it is.
my son who's moderating points out that what did he play? Denialist?
Yeah.
Anagrams to It's Daniel.
Mm.
So,
And that means, yeah, for
Oh,
people who
Arlo.
don't know your last
my
name.
last name is But you also might ask yourself, with someone such as Nigel, he's won everything and he's won it multiple times. And then he's challenged himself with the French dictionary and I have talked to him about it. He goes, I thought it would be fun and a challenge, whatever. And he's now twice conquered that. So why does he keep playing? Now, it could be a reflection of he just enjoys it. But I think it also is that unlike other games, and I guess, well, maybe not chess, but every game is different. Every single, it's like a snowflake. You never get the same tiles. Your opponent never gets the same tiles. Scrabble is endlessly fascinating. No matter how much you win, there's always more to learn and more fun to have.
Yeah, and dualism, to answer your question, basically, yeah. He remembered that a word that most people don't even know in the first place wasn't in that dictionary. Nigel, let's just use a stupid basketball analogy. Nigel could basically hit, 90% of his shots from behind the half-court line. I know it sounds stupid, but he would make Steph Curry look like he doesn't know how to shoot threes. Just to keep using like terrible sports analogies. I could go on all day. I'm more of a sports person than can't say than a games person because I play Scrabble, but yeah.
Yeah, it's very special for us to be having him, even though it's the same thing in tennis when you have somebody who's just dominating all the time and you're living in the era of this person, then you're never going to be as good as them. But it's a pleasure as well to have that kind of excellence and to give you something to aspire to. And also to learn from. One of the things that we do as Scrabble players is we go over to crosstables.com where people can actually put up their games that they've played. And sometimes when I'm just lounging around and my mind needs some stimulation, I'll just go over to some games and I'll go through each turn and I'll think, what would I play, and then see what the person plays. And sometimes they like to really teach and they'll actually say, this is what I was thinking and this is why I think this is the best play. And so there's all sorts of study opportunities available to you outside of just playing the game.
And Brian, if that's really you out there, thanks for watching. Come back.
Brian, we miss you.
I know I left for a few years to go start my career, thinking about really making a comeback, but we'd love to see you.
And I'll give you an update what happened in the Collins game. Looks like Evan started to pull away yet again in the end game. Yes, and he made a play that was 100% a winner, and he ended up winning 430 to 410, or it's almost over, so he's going to win by whatever, 10, 15 points. So Evan back on the winning side again, and hopefully after lunch we will bring you his game.
Yeah. So it's not Jackson's turn anymore. He played a phony word and it came off, so it becomes Nigel's turn.
So Nigel has decided that whatever damage Jackson can do along that bottom left quadrant is not sufficient enough for him to bother blocking it.
Most likely Nigel just found something that he could possibly hit that
Absolutely,
maybe
that's
none
what
of us
happened.
maybe none of us
Absolutely.
found. And we feel like idiots because I don't even know what to tell you. And I kind of love that about watching him play is I'm just humbled left and right.
Now, what would be extremely interesting is if Jackson had played something like land. I wish we could, have an alternate universe where that happened.
Yeah. I think like longer term it would have been more interesting. Shorter term, we had a fun moment.
That's all we can hope for.
We had a Scrabble moment, guys.
We're just
So
nerdy,
yeah.
geeky people who just
Yeah.
get our jollies where we can.
Well.
All right. So time is starting to be an issue for Jackson, who's down to less than 4 minutes. With still some tiles in the bag, and but I think that was his chance to really catch up and maybe make some possibility of catching Nigel if he picks some really bad tiles. But He went for it. Why not, eh? He went for it. He wasn't in a position where he was. I think he was going to lose. I think we all think he was going to lose.
He would have been in big trouble. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great find to begin with because Jackson doesn't play that much Collins, so he probably, I'm guessing, didn't know that it was a word. He just made a very reasonable guess.
So too. I think so too. Okay, yeah.
That said, it turned out to really, put the onus on Nigel. Yeah. So, I guess in Jackson's position, it's can he come up with something to give himself a potential win? There's the very obvious situation of fishing off 2 tiles on the top left. He just needs to come up with a guaranteed, place, like a 2-tile draw. And since he knows what tiles are in the bag, he knows that it's L, R, R.
Yep.
So, he's trying to come up, is there something I can do such that if I draw one of those combinations or one of those letters such that I can play all my tiles next turn,
But he better start looking through that IS again, because there is nothing in terms of, except through that S, possibly. So you'd have to save the IN.
Yeah, so Evan beat Stefan by about 20 points in the Collins game. So, it's and to think how hard it is for us to try to cycle through all these plays, it's even harder, over the board. You really have to, it's hard to stay focused to be working that hard, just nonstop. So, I think what he's looking at doing is putting the A above the I in Jerd maybe for Trindle, hoping that Nigel didn't draw. A blocking play, one of the R's, which he didn't. We know that won't work out.
Is he looking to play Taj, maybe, do you think?
Possibly. I think he's probably going to open...
He has to open it. He has
something. No, he's... Okay, so Jackson's going to kind of concede here.
That's conceding the game. Even though he catches them up quite nicely, it's Nigel's turn. No, it's not happening.
Yeah. And so basically what Jackson was really trying to figure out was, is there something he could get with that L in logging such that if he opened the top left part of the board, he could draw a bingo in either spot? And I think ultimately he didn't come up with anything. And at the end of the day, because point spread matters, he didn't want to needlessly sacrifice more points to Nigel. So I think if he had found something, he probably would have gone for it.
So we're about to give you a score. There we go. So you see it's not doable for Jackson. If he had played off just Taj on top, the first 2 tiles he picked out were RR. I don't think he would have had anything.
So some opportunities here for Nigel. Play Pina, setting up or leaving Ditzy and Wei for his outplay, or Wei and WOP. Seems like a...
Yeah, he's going to play Pina down on 15 and save Wei. Yeah,
pretty likely.
And I promise you, if anybody's actually quackling this game, that will be the optimal choice. He's really good at that. Physics, don't worry. As we said, we're going to be on YouTube later after the videos are processed, and you'll be able to watch it later. Unfortunately, we'll be missing out on your erudite commentary, but we understand you have to go.
But if nothing else, you can always stop the nuclear fusion for a minute and the world can wait, and then you can come watch Collins, right? I don't know how many Collins games we'll be playing this afternoon, but I think we'll be doing
at least one.
At least one. Especially since we tried to do it here, but again, don't blame the streamers. It's not our fault. Yeah.
So Jackson's down to 50 seconds, so he's playing quickly. I mean, he's got 1-pointers. He's not going to score a lot.
So after this game, we're going to bring Jackson down to talk through Denialist and some of the other stuff. Again, no chance you're getting Nigel to come down here. If someone out there gets Nigel to come down here, I will personally buy you a 6-pack.
To come down here or to talk?
To
Get
come
him
down here, no,
we can put him into a burlap sack.
Yeah,
you
to
know?
come down here and to chat with us. 6-pack on me, or dinner, I don't care. But he has to actually say things. So yeah, all that aside, we'll bring Jackson down here.
Oh, where is he going now? He's not going out.
Oh, he knows that Jackson has no outplay. And this is the kind of thing that,
It's like a cat and mouse, I'm telling you. He's like playing with you with his paw.
yeah, I think that, most people would figure that out eventually. Like, hopefully you don't play too fast and you realize, oh, I can get more points because you see saving Ditzy as the outplay now. It's just amazing that it's just so natural. For us, it takes a while to think through this stuff and eventually be like, okay, I think if I play AWE now, my opponent can't go out. And then I can play Ditzy. Whereas Nigel's just like, yeah, I know this is right. I don't have to think about it.
Well, I don't know if any of us would have seen Train necessarily for Jackson to play. And it's almost as if he went and said, okay, well, Train is the best play in terms of scoring the most points and getting rid of tiles, because he could get the same 18 for Knit and Choir.
Yeah.
But I'm going to imagine that he's going to play Train, and then I know that he has no place else to go, so I don't need to play Wei. I could just play Awe, and then it's like he figured that all out already.
Yeah, it's possible that he saw it as one of the potential plays. But really a fun game, all in all. I mean, Jackson made a great effort to stay in it after he got kind of shafted at the beginning with some unplayable things. Yeah, I don't know. It was really fun for us. It'll be really, really fun to ask Nigel about the Nihilist later. Not because he's going to have ever had any doubt about it not being a word, but I just love to hear his responses, 'cause he's going to come up with something silly. And then I'll try to report that back later. Because he's just so funny to talk to.
But it's actually really amazing that there's just a 50-point difference pretty much in the game, and Nigel had the 3 bingos to Jackson's 1.